Clarissa Kennedy. I am one of the co-founders of Sweet Sobriety, and we wanted to host an open house for you tonight to feature one of our speakers that is going to be at our conference slash meetup in October. And so I'm going to introduce her in a bit, but first I'm going to let you know a little bit about me. And then I'm going to let you know a little bit about the conference. So I am a mental health and addictions counselor. I'm a social worker, and I've worked in the field for many, many years in different settings, some residential, some private practice, some specifically with community mental health. And, I have my own personal story of food addiction recovery and eating disorder recovery. And so this is why I am very passionate about helping other people with it as well. And so, Molly and I really wanted to create Sweet Sobriety to make there a program that would be accessible to people without the financial barriers in place. And so that's why we really wanted to have the group coaching available 5 nights a week and do some psychoeducation and some solution focused and motivational interviewing tactics. I'm really excited about November and December. I'm going to be doing some somatic practices in Sweet Sobriety. And so we'll be talking more about that in the future. I did want to let you know that we have another feature speaker that's going to be at the conference on October 21st. Her name is Dr. Amy Reichelt. She's has a PhD in neuroscience, and she speaks specifically to sugar and food addiction. And I like that she doesn't focus so much on the dopamine reward pathway. What she really focuses on is how sugar and ultra processed foods damage the prefrontal cortex. She talks about how it affects the hippocampus, how it affects the hypothalamus, how it really allows, the cytokines to pass through the blood-brain barrier. And guess what? This I probably all sounds very confusing, but she's going to be on the Food Junkies podcast on the 22nd. So you will get a hint of what she is going to bring to this conference. So she will be another one of our featured speakers. And so if you don't already know about the conference, it will be in Toronto. It is October. If anyone's a Sweet Sobriety member, it will start on the 20th. We will have a meet and greet with Vera Tarman and the whole Sweet Sobriety crew. For anyone else, the conference will start on the 21st. It'll be a day full of speakers, and I'll just name them for you. So we'll have Sandra Elia, we'll have Sophie Rowland, then we'll have Dr. Evelyn Boudreau-Roy, Dr. Vera Ingrid Tarman, of course, and Dr. Amy Reichelt will be speaking on Sunday. We will have Pamela McCoos, and we will have Jennifer Lindo Kranc, who's speaking for us tonight. And Victoria Hama will be doing some hypnotherapy, and Rachel Murray will be talking about craving control. And then the Monday and Tuesday are going to be more workshop style. And these are probably going to be a little bit smaller, a little bit more intimate. And this is where, if you do have the opportunity to come and you need that smaller, more intimate group coaching setting, this will be the day for that. The workshops on Sunday will be interactive, but these will definitely be an opportunity for you to share, some of your struggles in your food addiction journey and get some support around those. And so we are very excited to be having and hosting this event for you coming up in October. And so I'm going to pass it over to another one of our Sweet Sobriety team members, Bethany Matheru, and I will get her to introduce herself.
All right. Hello, everybody. Yeah. So Bethany Matheru, I live in Kitchener, Ontario, Canada. I have a master's of social work and registered with the Ontario College of Social Workers. That's the background that I come with to Sweet Sobriety. And like lots of people who work in this field, I have my own personal story of sugar and food addiction. You can hear the whole story on the Sweet Sobriety YouTube channel, actually, and I can put the link in when we're done. Yeah, you can hear all kinds of fantastic stories on that YouTube channel. If you're ever thinking that I'm not sure if I'm all alone in this. Make sure you check out that YouTube channel because it has got, I think, how many stories are we up to now, Molly? Probably 25, 30. Yeah, just personal stories of people like us who have been there. So anyway, so just very briefly, I can remember sneaking food at a young age, eating in secret, scheming how to get more food. Then I battled my weight and my shape for over 40 years. And I just thought, this is the one thing in my life that I have not been able to figure out. And I felt like it was a huge hang up for me. So I read all kinds of books and tried all kinds of diets. Some of them were really crazy. And every time I started with fresh hope and then realized that it didn't work. And then I thought that was my fault, that it didn't work. So, and as we know, that's part of diet culture sometimes, that we take it on ourselves when it doesn't work. So learning about sugar and food addiction was really key for me. But I've also learned that that's just one part of the story and like the tip of the iceberg. So as long as I was only focused on food and weight, I wasn't dealing with everything underneath that iceberg tip. So things like emotions and relationships and codependency and workaholism and perfectionism and all those things. So, and that's why I love working with Sweet Sobriety, because we address all of those things. So all of these workshops that we come up with are based on those things and how they are related to our relationship with food, and just trying to help us holistically, I think, throughout life. So yeah, so I think one of the many reasons that I've chosen to partner with Clarissa and Molly and Sweet Sobriety is because they're really authentic people. You won't meet more authentic therapists, clinicians in this field, I believe. They truly want what's best for you. And they're really not dogmatic about doing that one way. And they really don't think that they've got it figured out so that you can try their way. And that is the way for you as well. So they have a lot of honesty, with clients, with ourselves in the team. We have a lot of honesty too. And that is something that really aligns with my own values. And so that's something Sweet Sobriety really embodies and encourages. And so you're never going to hear, like you're never going to get a sales pitch, like a salesy kind of thing. If we're offering you something, it's because we truly believe that it's going to help you to get freedom from food and sugar addiction. So that's it for me. I think I'll pass it over to Molly.
Hey guys, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Molly Painshaw. I'm a dual licensed mental health and addiction counselor in Montana. That's in the US, if anybody is not in the US and is watching this back. And I am a co-founder of Sweet Sobriety along with Clarissa, and I'm so happy that Bethany is on our team as well. She just shared probably everything that I would like to say or would love for people to know about Sweet Sobriety as well. So thank you for that, Bethany, because that means that I can jump right to my job tonight, which is I wanted to give you guys just a quick crash course on Sweet Sobriety platform, and then just a sneak peek on if you were to take one of our workshops or one of our courses, what that kind of looks like. So first I will just kind of show you, this is our homepage. This would be the page that if you just typed in, www.sweetsobriety.ca, this is the page you would come to. If you're a member, you sign in. Anybody can sign up so that they can sign in. And I'll show you that in a minute. But when you get here, all of these are interactive. We, have information on different eating disorders. We talk about what is food addiction, here. And then across the top, you can see all of these different options. Click on newsletter. It'll let you sign up for our email list. You can go to one-on-one coaching services and get to know each one of us a little bit better, and click a book now button that will take you to our Calendly links so you can make an appointment if that's what you want to do. If you head to our media page, you're going to find links to different podcasts that Clarissa and I were guests on together sometimes and sometimes individually. We have frequently asked questions where it's going to be able to answer questions that you might have about if I sign up, what if I want to quit, what are the rules, all of that. Resources is another really great place for you guys to take a look at. This is where the links for our meetings are, the non-12-step meetings that myself and Bethany and then others from the community host. There's some links for some 12-step meetings to look into, some different podcasts to check into, YouTube channels, self-help books, social media pages to check out. And obviously it's not an exhaustive list. It's just a starting point. So if anybody has a resource that you want me to add to there that I don't have on there, I'm happy to do that. Head on over to our all courses page, and this is where you can see what we have available right now to you. One of which being the Sweet Sobriety Meetup, and you can sign up for all 4 days in Toronto, or you can sign up for each day individually. And then we just started the Defense Mechanisms course. So that's there, and you're all still welcome to sign up for that if you want to. Sweet Sobriety Stories is just the links for those different YouTube videos that Bethany was talking about. You can also just follow that and go to the YouTube page and subscribe to the YouTube page, and then you'll be notified anytime there's a new post. When you sign in, it all looks the same. The only difference is, come on, little computer. The only difference is that oh, for real, I have to do a bicycle. Traffic lights. Oh my goodness. Sorry, guys. I didn't know it was going to make me do this. I love that the robot computer is asking me if I'm a robot. The only difference is once you sign in, you get some notifications about meetings that pop up there that you can quickly close. These are the courses that I'm signed up for. It will show a calendar, so I can click on the meetings that I want to attend. And if I continue scrolling all the way down, I get to community chats. And so, everybody has access once you sign in. And you don't have to be a Sweet Sobriety member, but once you sign in or sign up on our website, everybody has access to the nuts and bolts community where you can come and ask us questions. And here, like Clarissa sent a link to this person who was looking for information. If you're a coaching member, we post the links for the groups here, along with people are able to put questions in there, that kind of thing. And then here's just one for the modules where, again, people have discussions and they ask questions. So that's that I wanted to show you. And then I wanted to show you really quick what it looks like inside of a course. So this is the codependency course. So when you are in the course, this is what it looks like. So here are the modules over here on the side. Here it's broken up into a couple different things. So like the first one is what is codependency. Here are some downloads. You can click and download, and then this video will start playing if I push play. And then if you happen to be a member of the live session, then the replays are there. If you're doing the home study, you don't get access to that. But essentially it's all there. You just click on them, and the downloads are either right above and sometimes right below. And then you watch your videos and you keep going. You can earn certificates, which I know clients have used in the past to be reimbursed through different healthcare programs. Sometimes they're able to use it for CEUs if they're professionals, that kind of thing. So there's all kinds of advantages to taking the courses. And if you want to know more, just ask us any sort of question. At this point, I feel like you guys have definitely heard enough from Sweet Sobriety, because I know you're all really here to hear from Jennifer. So I'm going to turn it back over to Clarissa, and we're going to get Jennifer on. So thank you so much, guys. And let us know if you have any questions.
Thanks, Molly. All right. So Jennifer Kranc is a certified holistic nutritionist and a certified food addiction professional with 10 plus years of experience. Her passion is to use her nutrition and addiction training to educate and support people in their recovery from the disease of food addiction. She has a nutrition practice called Unhooked Eating, and Jennifer got unhooked from food in 2014. Free from the obsession and addiction of addictive foods. And she's found peace around food and in her life now. And she has that sincere desire to share that solution with you as well. She's going to share a little bit more about her personal journey shortly. And then she's going to share on what is neuronutrition. Jennifer will be speaking at the Sweet Sobriety Conference on Sunday. She'll be doing an interactive workshop on turning information into transformation, and it'll be all about neuroplasticity. So thank you so much for being here, Jennifer. Take it away.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here amongst all of you, and also the amazing Sweet Sobriety team, amazing coaches and food addiction professionals. So I'm really happy to be here. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, and thank you for that introduction. And then I'm going to get right into the topic for tonight, neuronutrition. So yes, I am a holistic nutritionist and a food addiction professional. And I live and work in Toronto, in Canada. And I have a practice called Unhooked Eating, where I see clients online or in person, usually one-on-one. And I have been abstinent for 9 years, this September, this month. And so I'm going to share a little bit of my story. And that 9 years has not always been smooth. And I will let you know about that in a minute. But so I believe that my food addiction started after my third child was born. I had some trauma. When my third born son was 6 weeks old, I broke my leg and tore my ACL. And at the time, I didn't even recognize that as trauma, really, but that was something that happened to me then. And I think that's where my addiction really kicked in. I lost control with food, and I never really realized it, but I was numbing my emotional pain with food. And I had a great support system, and I seemed to heal mentally pretty well from it. But I think it's because I was using food. So prior to that, I'll just go back quickly to growing up. I was not a heavy child. I think around puberty, I was probably about 10 pounds overweight. And through my adult life, I was always about 20 pounds overweight. I was sort of the big boned girl, although I was very active. I taught fitness. I was a fitness instructor for many years. And I always, first of all, I always felt bigger. I think I had a lot of petite, tiny friends, and I always felt bigger than everyone else. But I also loved food, and I could eat a lot until I felt full. And I was always a volume eater. So volume is really a big part of my addiction. But so fast forward to that time in my life, I had my third child. I had the accident. And so going into the pregnancy, I was 20 pounds overweight. And then from that pregnancy, I had gained about 25 pounds there. I had the accident. I was really immobile, as Molly knows, because she's dealing with that a little now. So I couldn't really lose that pregnancy weight. And I was 37 at the time. That was 18 years ago. And I really wanted a fourth child. I knew that I wanted a fourth child. I had to have 2 surgeries. I had one right away to fix my broken bone. And then I pushed off the second surgery because I wanted a fourth child. So I got pregnant within 6 months or so. And then at 5 months pregnant, I lost that baby. So more trauma. Also, I didn't seem so affected by it. Again, I think I was numbing, which I didn't really realize until recently, like in the last few years, that I was numbing with food. I'm a big, I'm into faith. And so it was, wasn't meant to be, and it was fine, seemed fine. Anyway, I pushed off the surgery again. I got pregnant. I had my fourth child, but now here I am. I'm up close to 65, 70 pounds. And again, after the surgery, not really mobile and hard to move, never really, I walked with a limp for a long time. So I tried, as many of us have tried, every diet in the book, and of course some successful for a while and then gain it back. And I did that throughout my life, trying to get the 20 pounds off. So all different kinds of diets, and nothing worked. And then about 5 years after my fourth child was born, my daughter, I was 45, and I decided I'm going to fulfill my dream, which was to go back to school and become a nutritionist. And in the back of my mind, I really felt, and which was really brave, I realized at the time, to walk into a classroom, it was in person, not online, to walk into that classroom obese with a bunch of normal sized people. But I did it. And in the back of my mind, I really thought, if I can't become a nutritionist and figure this out, then something's wrong with me. I mean, I'm a hopeless case. So really it was my last hope. And I loved school. I did well. I learned a lot, but I did not lose the weight. I couldn't lose the weight. I didn't learn how to lose the weight. So what I did when I graduated was I worked with parents who had children with ADHD who did not want to use medication. They wanted to try to heal with food. And I helped them for that year with diet and deficiencies and supplements. And then in 2015, a good friend of mine found a 12-step program for food addiction and brought me with her. And it was just the most eye-opening. I mean, to imagine that a substance, and it wasn't my fault, something could be doing this to me. And so that was incredible. And in that year, 2015, I lost the weight and I started incorporating food addiction into my practice. And then a couple of years ago, I went to school, the IMFACT in Iceland online, and I became a food addiction professional. And yeah, that takes us to here today. And so I just wanted to, I'm going to show you some before and after pictures, because I know people like to see those, even though I still hate to show my before pictures. But I just wanted to say, so in the last 5 years of my recovery, which have been free of processed sugar and wheat flour, I have tried some trial and error with some alternative flours and mostly making my own. So I will grind almonds to make sort of an almond flour or oats. And I've experimented with some dried fruits. And so it has taken me on a bit of a path where sometimes I'm up 20 pounds, down 20 pounds, but, still working on myself and my growth. And so I'm going to share my screen with you now. Okay, so yeah, just having said that, I just wanted to say a couple of things. So sorry, okay. So this is one of my favorite quotes. We can be both a masterpiece, which we are, and a work in progress. And I just love that, because I think we all need to know that we're enough and we are amazing as we are, but yet we all need to still grow and keep working on ourselves. And then yeah, so I'm still learning. I like that attitude instead of I made a mistake. The way we talk to ourselves is very important. And what you hear a lot in 12-step rooms is progress, not perfection. And then don't speak negatively about yourself, because your body doesn't know the difference. Words are energy. So I'm going to show you, that's my before, some of my before pictures there. And just some after pictures. Okay. And that's me, Unhooked Eating. If you want to get hold of me, if you have any questions after, my phone number's there, my email, my website, feel free to reach out. I would love to hear from you. Hopefully we have time for some questions at the end. Okay, so let's get right into the topic of neuronutrition. So what is it? So neuronutrition is the use of nutrition to help optimize brain health. So often we talk about what foods, what diet should we go on to lose weight, maybe gain weight, maybe lose fat, get into ketosis, maybe build muscle, gain energy. But rarely do we hear people talk about what foods do I need to support my cognitive health, to keep me calm, to keep me focused and clear. And since we're talking about addiction, I want to really focus today on, which foods are going to fuel that addiction and keep my addict brain alive and keep me craving and coming back for more, and which foods are going to calm my brain and make me less impulsive and maybe give me that pause before I put something in my mouth. Which foods are going to help create the neurotransmitters that I need for my brain, like serotonin and dopamine, to keep me happy and, calm and satisfied. So that's really what I want to talk about today. And so let's get started. So if we're talking about, sorry, I lost you guys here and I want to see you. Okay. So if we're talking about brain health, we really need to talk first about the gut-brain connection, because I just have to, sorry. Okay. We have a two-way communication network between our central nervous system, our brain and spinal cord, and our enteric nervous system, which is the nervous system in our gut, in our digestive system. And so often you'll hear people call the digestive system the second brain. And that's because there's a direct connection between the gut and the brain. So the gut is a very powerful control center. So let's take a look inside. What is inside our gut? What is inside our digestive system? The gut microbiome. So there are trillions of microorganisms, bacteria, good and bad, fungi, parasites, and viruses that help us to digest our food, make neurotransmitters that we need, produce vitamins and enzymes. And so sorry, I'm just having a little trouble with this. Okay, so they fulfill vital functions beyond the gut itself and really contribute to our overall health. But the problem is that with modern farming, use of chemicals like glyphosate, which I'm going to talk a little bit about after, the use of antibiotics and many other commonly used drugs, our processed food, which has damaging oils and, of course, high sugar content. This is causing an environment in our digestive system which is not good, which is causing increased permeability. So which is otherwise known as leaky gut. I'm sure many of you have heard of that. And it leaves us with less beneficial bacteria and more pathogenic, harmful bacteria. And so we need to really focus on our guts in recovery. And I'm just going to give you an example of one thing that happens in our gut and why it's so important. So serotonin, which is a key neurotransmitter for our brains, is produced, 90% of it is produced in our gut. And we need tryptophan to convert and stimulate that conversion. Now, we need the proper microbes in our gut to actually convert the tryptophan, which is an essential amino acid, into serotonin. And if we don't have the microbes to do that, then we're not going to be able to make serotonin. So that's that can be a problem because our guts are sort of not always fit or in great shape. So we need to really work on that. And even worse things can happen. Sometimes corrupt microbes can turn tryptophan into other things that will cause neuroinflammation and neurodegeneration and can cause us other problems. So just something to think about. Okay, so our gut bacteria has been linked to our mood and our mental health. So cognitive functions like focus and clarity, are we calm? Are we anxious? Even neuroplasticity, the ability to change, neurogenesis, the ability to create new neurons, also has been linked to ADHD, addiction, depression, anxiety, and many more. So good mental health depends on a well-nourished brain, and a well-nourished brain depends on a healthy gut. And the great thing is that, this research and scientific evidence has been around a very long time. So when I worked with children with ADHD, I really focused a lot on Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride, who wrote a program called GAPS. I don't know if some of you have heard of it, the gut and psychology syndrome. And she really focuses on healing the gut to heal conditions, mental health conditions like autism and ADHD and depression, anxiety, even schizophrenia and things like that. So that book's got to be about 20 years old. And then, of course, Julia Ross, who wrote Mood Cure and Diet Cure and Craving Cure. You have people like that. So if you do want to do more research and learn more about this as well. So there's a newer field of study called nutritional psychiatry. And doctors like Drew Ramsey is a big one there. And he's a psychiatrist that really employs the new science on connecting brain health with mental health and nutrition. So there are amazing, he wrote a book called Eat to Beat Your Depression and Anxiety. So also some amazing things there. Okay, so now let's get to what foods do we need to eat and what foods do we need to eliminate? Okay, so here are the big two that usually need to come out, as probably most of you already know. Processed sugar and wheat flour, and also other flours. They act like drugs in our body. So, as you can see in the picture on the right, we have on the left side, we have our whole foods like beets and sugarcane and even some beans and rice and wheat. And when they're eaten in their whole form, they digest in the body much differently than when they are turned into, refined and processed into white powders. So when they have their nutrients, their vitamins and minerals surrounding them, they will not spike our blood sugar the same way those white powders do. They spike our blood sugar very quickly. They get absorbed into our bloodstream, and the pancreas will secrete insulin, and they cause havoc with our other hunger hormones such as leptin and ghrelin, and they sort of ruin the function of those. Also, leptin is our feel full hormone, and it oftentimes just stops working, and our brain does not know when we're feeling full and to tell us to stop eating. So problems like that. So really, the white powders act like a drug in our body. They are not only addictive and they lead to highs and lows in mood and energy, but they also release dopamine just like a drug. And they affect the reward system in our brain, sets it into overdrive, and we lose ability to have control over our urges. And then the other thing is sugar affects our microbiome. And since we're talking about the gut, sugar creates a very acidic environment, and it feeds the bad bacteria. So the more the bad bacteria are fed, the more they want sugar, they proliferate and they take over, and they really, really make us crave. Okay, so really two important ones we need to take out of our diet. Okay, so we rely on our microorganisms to break down nutrients and produce important vitamins. But the problem is there's some chemicals, these chemicals, and I'm going to talk about some of them individually, but these cause havoc in our digestive system. They cause increased permeability, which is leaky gut, which is just what that means is the intestinal wall that has tiny little holes where our food is supposed to go out into our bloodstream will get larger, and undigested food particles and larger food particles that shouldn't be escaping will escape into the bloodstream. So I'm just going to talk about some of those. So artificial food coloring, artificial flavors and natural flavors, chemicals like MSG and ADA. ADA is just a whitening agent for dough. Preservatives, herbicides like glyphosate, genetically modified organisms, and artificial sweeteners. So I'm going to talk about some of these in a little more detail. artificial food colors. I'm just going to mention one of them, which is tartrazine yellow dye number 5. A long time ago, probably 20 years now, it was connected to hyperactivity in children, and the FDA had it removed from processed and packaged foods. It was very common in candy and macaroni and cheese and things like that. But there's still many others out there, red dye number 40, and there's many out there under scrutiny. So artificial flavors and natural flavors. So I just want to talk for a minute on natural flavors, because this is one of my pet peeves. Natural flavors are the 4th most common ingredient in packaged food and processed food, and even in our water, our sparkling water, flavored water. And it's really insidious because the FDA definition of it is not so clear, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And really, manufacturers can do whatever they want with this. And people think it's healthy. People think it's, if they don't know it's not healthy, it's just not so bad. It's natural, right? So it sort of means healthy to a lot of people, or healthier. But I want to just show you the definition. So I'm not going to read it because I pronounce half the words wrong, but I just want to direct you to the highlighted part at the bottom. And so the definition of a natural flavor, and whose significant function in food is flavoring rather than nutritional. And so I just wanted to actually tell you a little funny story quickly. Just checking the time. So recently we moved my son to Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm from Canada. And so we don't have Trader Joe's in Canada. And whenever I go to Trader Joe's, I'll ask my friends and family if they want anything. And funny enough, I got a request 3 times, the same request from 3 different people. It was for a product. I don't know if any of you have heard of it. Takis. They're rolled corn tortillas. And so, of course, I was curious, and I wanted to look at the ingredients and what is attracting people to this product. And it was, of course, there's natural flavors in there, and many other things, but you know, it was just really interesting. I started looking up reviews, and apparently there's many different brands of Takis. And this was just a review of the Trader Joe's ones, just to show you how these manufacturers really want you to become addicted to their products. So this was a review, so I'm just going to read it to you. While a handful of Takis are enough to satisfy, there is something about the tongue-tingling spice mixed with the tart flavor that keeps me reaching into the Trader Joe's bag again and again. They're an assault on your taste buds, but in a good way. Of all the chili lime snacks we tried, Trader Joe's was the most sour, the most spicy, the most unputdownable. Thankfully, there's no artificial colors, unlike every other brand we tried. So there's natural flavors, and that is really what is, making people come back for more. Okay, another thing I wanted to talk about quickly was glyphosate. So glyphosate is a chemical in Roundup. Some of you may have heard, I'm sure you've heard of it. And it's heavily used in wheat and soy crops, as well as corn crops, which are the most popular items in processed food. And soy oil is the most used oil in processed food today. And glyphosate negatively impacts our gut bacteria, and it causes dysbiosis, which is the imbalance of good and bad bacteria in our gut. And of course, genetically modified organisms. So glyphosate is actually injected into the DNA of those seeds. So it can resist pests, and it can also resist when it's sprayed fully with glyphosate. The plant won't die because it has the glyphosate already in the seed. So just some of the things we need to be aware of. And then I'm going to just talk briefly about artificial sweeteners. And I know that there's a lot of them out there that are newer, and they might not spike our blood sugar in the way some of the other ones do. And there's monk fruit and sugar alcohols and maybe allulose. The problem is, for me and many of my clients, is that it's still sweet. And even though it might not be raising my blood sugar in the way others do. And maybe, you know, they haven't been around long enough to know the problems with them. They still keep my addict brain alive and keep me coming back for more. And I will eat the whole pack of whatever it might be with the sugar, alcohol, even if it's net carb 0, I will still eat the whole bag. Okay, so last things to eliminate. I want to talk about gluten and casein. So gluten is the protein in wheat, and casein is the protein in dairy. And these two are the two most common food sensitivities in people. They are very difficult to break down in our digestive system. And we need enzymes to do it. And often either we could be deficient in those because of genetic reasons, or our system might be overloaded because we eat a lot of gluten and casein and we don't have enough of the enzyme. But the problem is when they are not digested properly, and if they are digested properly, they will create neurotransmitters for our brain. But because of our digestive systems, there's a byproduct, which from gluten is glutamorphins, and casein, casomorphins, which act like morphine attached to our dopamine receptors in the brain. They are actually opiate peptides and act like drugs, and so keep us addicted and cause withdrawal. And so, you know, a lot of people say, well, I can handle dairy, and you know, I definitely, that's true for some people. A lot of us eat yogurt. I eat yogurt. The problem is it takes but you hear a lot of times with cheese that people can't control the amount of hard cheese they're eating. So it takes 10 pounds of milk to make 1 pound of cheese. So the casein that's concentrated in cheese is a much higher concentration. And that's why often we'll hear, if I have people that say, well, I'm not addicted to sweets, but I can eat the whole pizza. This is the thing. We have the gluten and the casein, the bread and the cheese in combination in pizza, and they can't stop eating it because it's acting like a drug in our body. So, okay, so now let's get to what are the things we can eat to support our addiction. So really important brain nutrients, protein, and we have to make sure we're getting complete protein. So complete proteins are chicken, fish, beef, tofu, and if you're a vegan, you have to make sure you're getting complete proteins. So beans and rice, one example that would go together. So we need amino acids. There's essential amino acids that are not available in all foods. And that's why if you're vegan, you have to make sure you're getting the combination of foods to get complete proteins, because that's what's going to make our neurotransmitters. So if you are vegan, complete proteins are quinoa, amaranth, buckwheat, hemp, and chia seeds. Some of them, there's more. So these proteins are going to help make our key neurotransmitters for mental health, to support our addiction. Serotonin, dopamine, GABA, norepinephrine, they help us regulate anxiety. They're linked to focus, motivation, and pleasure, and mood and behavior and appetite. And so we have to make sure we are getting enough of those. Next, really, really important brain nutrient, healthy fat. So that consists of avocado, olives, cold pressed oils like avocado and olive oil, raw nuts and seeds, wild fish, coconut and unrefined coconut oil, and grass-fed pasture-raised beef and whole eggs. And so it's really, really important to get these essential fatty acids into our diet, into our body, because our brains are made up of fat. 60% of our brain is made up of fat. And essential fatty acid means they must come from foods because we can't make them in our body. And they aid in learning, memory, mood, attention, and depression, which many of these things coincide with addiction. Okay, and complex carbohydrates. So some of us eat grains, some of us may not eat grains, but listed in the complex carbohydrates are fruit, and some of us can eat fruit and some of us also don't eat fruit. But fruit, vegetables, non-starchy ones, grains, and I always recommend gluten-free if you are having grains like oats, millet, amaranth, tough rice, and quinoa, and starchy vegetables like sweet potato, and of course legumes, lentil, chickpeas, black beans, pinto beans. And so all of these are going to provide the fiber and the enzymes that we need for digestion, vitamin B, folate, vitamin C, and the minerals we need. And all of these aid in converting our food to neurotransmitters in our digestive system. And we can always supplement with these also. So that's supplements can be good, but it's best to always get our nutrients from our food. And so I have a bit of time. I'm just going to go through very quickly. Make sure you're getting 8 glasses of water a day, or a better calculation of how much water you need. You can take your weight in pounds and divide it by 2. So say you're 150 pounds, divided by 2, 75 ounces of water a day is what you should be drinking. And then this is just the healthy macros plate. And it's not the same for everybody. Everyone's an individual, but generally protein, 25 to 35%, grains, fruit, and starchy vegetables, only 15%, healthy fats, 25 to 35, and then non-starchy vegetables, 30 to 40. And that's what I recommend. Everybody's different again. And so not every nutritionist is going to recommend the same things. So I want to talk to you quickly about healing the gut and how do we do that. Fermented foods help heal the gut: sauerkraut, tempeh, yogurt, kimchi, kefir, miso, pickles, kombucha. And you can always take a probiotic, which is, if you have a good one, and you have to be really careful that you do have a good one, it can really help to heal the gut. And of course, we need to detox all the chemicals we're ingesting. Even if we're so meticulous and we eat organic, we're always going to be getting some chemicals, and the liver has a huge job to do to detox those. So some good foods to support the liver: cruciferous vegetables and broccoli, cabbage, bok choy, lemon, turmeric, avocados, and citrus fruits, blueberries, fatty fish, green tea. And you can also take some supplements for the liver. Milk thistle is one of them. And then we have a few more minutes. So natural ways to increase neurotransmitters: giving service releases oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. Meditation, it actually releases endorphins. Journaling, gratitude lists create new serotonin circuits in the brain. Connection with other people increases oxytocin. Deep breathing, music, get outside in nature. And then I always encourage my clients to do a hard things list: things that get you uncomfortable, and things that you can accomplish and check off. Whenever you check off your list, that gives you a little dopamine hit. Sorry, I just jumped ahead. And the last thing was, I just wanted to give you a little sneak peek into what I will be talking about at the conference. So turning information into transformation. And so today we really talked about the substances that we need to take out of our diet. And so we can't just do that with willpower. We need also to deal with the behavioral side of addiction. And so in order to change the way we eat, we really need to change our brains. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about. So like I said, this was the first step, but we can't just use willpower to eliminate the substances. It just doesn't last long, as most of us know. So we have to learn how to do it. And that's the behavioral part. And we can't just make a goal or make a resolution and just resolve to do it. And, you know, a lot of times we say knowledge knowledge is power, but it's actually may not be power if we don't know what to do with it. And that's really what I want to teach you is, you know, what to do with that knowledge, and how we need to have a systematic daily approach to succeed long term. We need to rewire the brain and create we need to really identify what our cues and triggers are and replace them with different routines, and really just rewire the brain and learn new habits and make things automatic. And that's it. So I hope you'll join us, and I hope you got something out of this. And if anyone has any questions, I'm here to answer them. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Okay.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. There was one question in the chat, and she's asking, she eats a lot of tofu. She be searching for non-GMO or organic because she is vegan, like the Soul brand? Do you have any brands that you recommend when it comes to tofu?
Yes.
She is in Canada.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm in Canada. So yes, yes, definitely, because the soy is heavily sprayed, go for organic. And when something is organic, it's automatically non-GMO. So you know that. And so, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't eat it every day, but definitely go for the non-GMO or organic. Yeah, Tanya.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank you. I have a problem with like buckwheat. Like there's so many different names with buckwheat. Is that not bulgur? B-U-L, I don't know.
I think it is. You know, I don't eat a ton of grain actually. So I think you're right. It is a similar grain to bulgur. So I'm not 100% sure, but I do think it's gluten-free. And
Okay.
so do you use it? Does it?
I don't use it, but I was thinking about it. Like, I mean, if it's something satiating, right? I think it's got protein in it, or
Yeah. So if you eat grains, it's definitely, you know, one of the ancient grains, you know,
yeah.
and much better to try than some of the other ones that are commercially grown and sprayed. You definitely want to focus on those ancient grains. Oh, bulgur is a whole wheat grain. Oh,
Nice. Okay.
Molly knows the answer. Molly?
Go, Molly.
Molly.
Oh, I just Googled it. Is all. It looks like they can be used interchangeably, but maybe that's not something you want to do, Tanya.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Okay. Okay. And just quickly, like, what's the difference between tempeh and tofu? Are they the same thing or not?
No, I think they're not. Tempeh is made from tofu, but I think it might just be, I don't know 100%, but I have it in my freezer, and it looks like more fermented, and I think it's better. Oh, yeah, it's fermented tofu. So it is more fermented than a tofu product. So it is better. It's better for your gut when you're eating fermented foods. So yeah.
Okay.
Just confirm that. Okay.
Okay. And so on the package, it says tempeh?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
it does.
Okay.
It looks different. Yeah, both from soybeans.
Oh, see that? Oh, yeah. It's just so.
Yeah. Thank you, Jackie.
Any other questions for Jennifer about her presentation or anything that she was talking about today that you had more questions about?
If you ever have a good recipe for tempeh, I'd love to hear about it. Tempeh was yucky. I find it just takes on whatever, like sort of like tofu, it takes on whatever you put on it. So I will definitely use salt and some spices, and I will usually saute it in, you know, an avocado oil or a coconut oil, and it's pretty good if you spice it up.
Sylvia has a question. Are yogurt and kefir more okay than hard cheese because the casein content is lower?
Yes. So kefir is fermented, and so it's even going to be better for you if you get an unsweetened kefir. Yogurt, yeah, both of them have a lot less casein than hard cheese. Even yogurt, some people will tell me they feel addicted to their yogurt, but many people can eat it. And if you are having yogurt, get the higher fat. Don't ever do 0 or 2. I eat 5%. Yogurt, which is going to be more satiating, and don't be afraid of the fat, because fat doesn't make you fat. And
Unless you have a saturated fat intolerance like I do when I got my DNA done. And so again, I would say for those people, just check in on your body and how
Yeah.
it feels when you eat those things. But definitely as like a majority recommendation, I do usually say get the 5% or 10% because it will be more satiating for most people.
Yeah, good point though, because you have to really listen to your body and how you feel after eating something. You'll know if it's working for you or not. You can't find yogurt without sugar, somebody said? Plain, yeah. So there are a lot. Are you, I don't know who just wrote that, but are you in the US or Canada?
I'm in Canada.
Oh, okay. So Siggy's is a great, really good if you like a thick, unsweetened yogurt. I get it in 3.5%. It's Siggy's, Sigis. That's a good one. If you're in the States, I love Faye. I try to sneak it over the border. That's a good one. Almond silk. Oh,
Somebody was asking about coffee with heavy cream.
so yeah, if you're gonna have coffee, then that's what I would use, because cream is if you're adding a milk, cream is lower in carbs than milk. I prefer to add MCT powder, which is a really good thing to whiten your coffee, and also MCT are medium chain triglycerides, which add, energy and boost to your coffee and are very healthy fats. So that's another thing you can do, but a little bit of cream is okay. It's better than milk for sure.
And then there was a question. Did you say that no yogurt is enough, that you need to take a probiotic?
No, I would say yogurt does not have enough probiotics in it to do much. Kefir is a little bit better if you're having, well, obviously most of us here are having unsweetened, but just make sure it's unsweetened. But one of my top supplements that I recommend to clients is a probiotic, a good probiotic. I like Genestra brand, because we just, there's so many things, and it depends on the person. It depends on the person. I mean, yeah, some people just, and it depends on your digestion. So if you're having trouble, then for sure you want to add a probiotic in. You can do a maintenance dose, or if you've just come off an antibiotic, maybe you want to add something stronger. So yeah, depends, but it's never a bad thing to add a probiotic to your diet. What about the homemade yogurt? Amazing. If you have time to make homemade yogurt, Dr. William Davis book, Super Gut, suggests. Yeah, I know Vera Tarman makes homemade yogurt. I've seen that. That's amazing. If you can do that, then, you're saying maybe you're asking about the probiotics. I'm sure it's much higher content of probiotics in that yogurt that you make.
Yeah, and he explained that to us too, that because the fermenting process is so much longer when you make it at home, the probiotics have more time to populate versus the store-bought yogurt is like a 2-hour fermentation process, where his recipe is like 36 hours or something like that.
Oh, amazing.
Any other questions, you guys? For Jennifer, for Sweet Sobriety?
I have a question for Sweet Sobriety. Clarissa, you just said something very interesting that I never thought about. You were talking about the fat adapted being was it fat? Oh, geez, I didn't.
Saturated fat intolerant could be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what is that?
Well, it just really depends. Some of us have genes where we do not process saturated fat as well. And so, previously in my history, I certainly tried to eat keto. I tried to eat more carnivore, but I found that they made me feel very bloated or unwell. And so, if you've had that experience, then I would just monitor your saturated fat level. And the recommendation that I got was to keep it around 22 grams a day. Again, and you can experiment with that, right? And see how do you feel in your body when that may be, that's really the only thing I weigh and measure now. Just monitor that. And I switched from my old way of eating, which was, medium ground beef and so much red meat, to more fish and chicken again, which I wasn't super happy about, but you do what you do to feel
That's
better. So
that's what I love about you guys, because it is so individual, isn't it?
yeah,
It's
absolutely.
so different. Like I had the same meal twice, and I was like so bloated the next day, but it was the same thing. I don't understand that, but
Yeah,
anyway.
and that can be cortisol, that can be, there's so many, it can be how much water you were consuming that day, that level of movement you were
Oh,
doing. There's like so many factors that go into how our body carries, water or inflammation in some cases. So, again, I would say, it's always best to experiment and see what feels best in your own body over just, what somebody says, do this, this will work. And, Jennifer said that so many times, how individual it is.
There are a couple more questions for Jennifer too here. How do you handle your food if you go to Europe, say Italy?
Is that because it's like there's so much gelato and pasta?
Pasta, pizza, maybe. I don't know.
I've been to Italy before. I was abstinent, but I have to say it's like traveling anywhere else. I would eat fish, or beef and vegetables. And yeah, that's like, I guess, just like eating in a restaurant anywhere. You find a restaurant that has a menu where you have abstinent food, and you can ask if there's sugar on whatever they're cooking the fish in. And yeah, I mean, does that answer your question?
I think she was insinuating that perhaps they have a cleaner flour there. It is less processed.
Oh yeah,
And I
yeah.
think
So,
we talked to, who were we talking to about that?
yeah,
Anxiety disorder writer that she was
it,
talking about.
the
Yeah.
wheat's different for
Yeah.
sure. You're going to be less bloated. The gluten's different. Yeah, for sure. Me being a food addict, I wouldn't go to Italy and test it out. I just wouldn't, because it's still flour, and it's still gonna spike my blood sugar, even though it might be better. But yeah, there are people who say it doesn't do the same thing to you. I don't know. I personally, I wouldn't risk it with my addiction, but
Fair. Okay, and then somebody asked, what about consuming saturated fat? What's the skinny on that and cholesterol and heart disease?
so saturated fat got a really bad rap in the 40s and the 50s. And, I can go on about that, but there's, at that time, I think a lot to do was with Procter and Gamble, and they wanted to take cottonseed oil and use it. They used it starting in their soaps, And then very insidiously, they hydrogenated it and turned it into an industrial seed oil. And they pumped some money into the Heart Association. And then what happened really was everybody, they turned industrial seed oil, which is really bad for us, and they started calling it vegetable oil, which made it seem okay because it's from a vegetable. And they started, from one study on linking, a preliminary study that was not even conclusive, linking saturated fat with heart health. And it sort of took off. And then everybody started eating these vegetable oils that are rancid and margarine, and it caused a lot of problems. So saturated fat was really never the problem.
Yeah.
But
it got demonized.
For you, Clarissa.
Yeah, no, it definitely got demonized, and you are lucky. We have a Food Junkies podcast episode with Nina Teichels, who wrote the book on saturated fat, and she is going to share with you all the research that turned out to be pretty much faulty, and then how they pulled up all these papers and documents that had been buried and brought them to light. And that, a lot of individuals in the nutrition field, Walter Willett, people associated with Harvard, researchers, there was just a lot of corruption going on. But again, it was mostly these big food companies who were trying to make profit off of demonizing saturated fat.
Yeah. Yeah. The Craving Cure, Julia Ross talks about it in The Craving Cure. Yep. And Dr. Lustig in Metabolical. And yeah.
We have one more question. And maybe it's too big to talk about it now, but this person who's asking the question, I believe, is also joining us in Toronto. So maybe we can answer in Toronto if you feel like it's too big of a question now. But they're curious about how taking SSRIs factor into gut health, is my assumption on all of this. Yeah.
Yeah, well, any drug, can cause problems to your gut health. And of course, you have to be careful when you're supplementing because a lot of them can interfere with SSRIs. But yeah, I think it's a bigger question. Maybe I don't mind if you want to message me privately and we can have a little discussion about it. I could put my, it's Jennifer@unhookedeating.com. And you can email me and I can help you with that for sure.
Awesome.
Okay, I've got that in the chat. So yeah, so anybody who wanted that, yep, copy that down. And thank you so much, Jennifer, for being here.
Yeah, and your wonderful presentation. And we're excited to hang out with you in Toronto on the, Saturday, Sunday, and whatever else you want to join us for.
Yeah, same. Me too. I'm really looking forward. And thank you so much for having me. And for all of you who stayed right till the end. Thank you.
Thanks again, guys. Thanks for being great.
Yeah.
See ya.
Have a good night.
If you like what you heard today, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.